All right, moving on to our next speakers. Robin, so we have Robin Martin is the Executive Director and Susan Miller Davis is the Associate Director of Joint Ventures Food Recovery Initiative. So welcome, Robin and Susan.
You coming out with me? Let's do it. Hi there. I'm going to talk first about a little bit about what our program is so it can kind of make sense and fit together. But it is definitely a group effort beyond just Susan and I that are here. And it involves a lot of people in this room. So I'm going to start with a thank you to all of them because we do our food recovery initiative and our Santa Clara County food recovery work with all of the cities and the county, many county departments, a whole bunch of nonprofits and food recovery organizations that are all here. So thank you so much for doing all of this together, and that we certainly, it certainly is all of us to do all of these things. So I'm going to talk first a little bit. What is our food recovery initiative? What is it that we do? This is sort of our list of tasks here. We were funded a number of years ago. I came here 5 years ago talking about a la carte, and now we've expanded into other things. And Jonathan, one of our first drivers, was actually here today, and I got to give him a hug, and he handed you his lunch. So now Loaves and Fishes are at it, doing the a la carte recovery initiative in Santa Clara County, which is so fantastic. And we've continued to do work in that space and are now funded by counties, the county and cities, and tasked by the nonprofits to do be sort of a connective tissue on food surplus in Santa Clara County. And it's a team of us that do all of those things. And the way we were able to do it in a countywide way is one of the things I want to mention. If you look at this slide here, across the top would be a law that all of the jurisdictions have to comply with. And if you look at the left-hand side of that slide, that's sort of the bullet points that had to happen so that we could do a countywide program, which is what we run as a contract on the right-hand side of the slide. So all of those things that we had to do together, the ordinances that we worked so hard with all of the folks in the room, with all of their city lawyers to have a unified ordinance. So the same ordinance was passed in all the jurisdictions in Santa Clara County. And then how we formed subcommittees with the cities and the California Restaurant Association and the county and all of those particular bodies so that we could kind of decide if we wanted to run a food recovery council, a food recovery program across the county, what should it look like? What should it include? And then those last two bullets are not things that we've done, but things that happened in the county that made it possible. And that's all of those food recovery. We have a really robust system of food recovery in Santa Clara County, where we're very lucky to have a really strong food bank and a lot of great food recovery organizations that do fantastic work. And so with that structure, we put a council together, and then they do a lot of really wonderful work. And then my colleague at the Extension Office and at the county, that in May 2021 put together a food system work plan, and it has a whole bunch of goals for the food system in Santa Clara County, one of which was to coordinate activity to comply with 1383 and the food recovery parts countywide. So all of that set up made what we do on the right-hand side, where we coordinate all of the activity together, possible. So how is it going? It's going pretty well. We're able to do the education across all of the cities. We're able to coordinate on doing our capacity analysis and help build capacity across all of the cities, because of course, as all of you know, food recovery crosses city lines and it crosses county lines too. So we talk regularly with a lot of the other Bay Area counties on trying to coordinate a lot of that activity. And one of the unique pieces that we were able to do is for the monitoring strategy, we included in those ordinances reporting for the generators. So for the businesses that have to recover food now as part of 1383, they report back to us on once a year electronically. We send them a unique link that gets sent back to us. And so then we know how it's going. And so we've had about 10 million pounds for the previous, yeah, exactly, first 6 months. And then we know it exactly, which is really great. And reporting links just went out. So we'll see how we do for the full year. We have a bunch of resources up on the website, which I certainly won't go into great detail. Because this is some stuff we do through NCRA and a matching thing on the website and a bunch of best practices on the website. But I'm going to give one example of one of our startups, and Susan's going to cover a lot more of that. But one thing we did is last year we worked with the Department of Public Health to do what we called the deep dive. We wanted to know, how is food flowing through the system, right? When you, what is being recovered, where is it going, what is being purchased by our food access places, where, how much gets wasted at each step. And they did a fantastic job of tracking all of that for us. So we have a good understanding. And then they also did some questions for clients about those distributions. We found out about 50% of them, it was at tough times. It was hard for them to get to the distribution site. So then we tried, now we have another grant and we get to try to solve it. So we've got food recovery from commercial kitchens that gets picked up by an FRO into fridges located in affordable housing locations, distributed to folks that need it. So it's nice that we've been able to actually do the research on what was needed and then tackle it with one of these projects that is underway right now. And I'll let you jump in.
Great. Okay, thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. Do you want to do this since you know how? Okay. So, yeah, what I want to talk about is what we've been doing for the recent past and what we're doing going forward. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the cover from our capacity study that was an SB 1383 required study that we filed with Calorie Cycle. And that was a collaborative process. We had stakeholders throughout the county. We learned a lot about how much surplus food may be out there and how much capacity we have in the county to collect it. What is wonderful about Santa Clara County and our incredible network is there was interest to go further. So rather than just filing that report and saying, okay, we're covered for SB 1383, there was interest in doing what we called making the most of surplus food. So it's a public-facing report. Everyone can find it on the joint venture website. We encourage you to check it out. But we really spent more time looking at where are the opportunities to expand. So what we know is that as excuse me, as Robin said, in Santa Clara County, we're recovering about 20 million pounds of food per year right now. And we think there's somewhere around 40 to 50 million pounds out there. And that could be everything. That could be from farms, that's beyond SB 1383. And so that just gives us kind of our North Star. And we've laid out a 3-year plan of recommendations in the report. Okay, and so what we've been doing for the last few months, the county has also supported us in doing what I'm calling making the most happen. So they have invested funds in us prioritizing recommendations, identifying potential funding sources outside of the county, applying for catalytic funding for what we think of as kind of innovative pilot ideas, maybe prototypes, and then tracking and monitoring countywide compliance with our steering committee. So we're able to really see in one kind of a one-stop shop where activity is happening and where the funding is happening so that we can coordinate efforts. Go ahead. And then I'm just going to talk about 2 pilots that we have planned that will be starting soon. So the first is what we call our surplus to go pilot. What we learned during the capacity planning and the making the most is that we need more solutions to recover prepared food, which is very similar to other areas of California and around the country. There are, tougher food safety considerations. There are small quantities often that get recovered, say from a restaurant that can't integrate well to a distribution. And they're also geographically diverse. We've got about 2,000 what we call tier 2 locations in Santa Clara County. That's restaurants, hotels, healthcare facilities, and other businesses and institutions. So what we will be doing, the county has funded a pilot starting later this year. We're going to be recruiting those institutions and businesses to have them post surplus food on an app. And we're going to be partnering with our FRO partners and the county public health department to get vouchers out to people who attend food distributions. So we're sort of cutting out the middleman in a sense for certain types of food. The businesses will post it. The folks with the vouchers will be able to go claim it. And we really hope that this will work. The businesses and the FROs will get credit for the pounds without doing all of the logistic food recovery. We really think it will alleviate the burden all around and provide more choice and convenience to the clients. And then the last slide. And then our next pilot is going to be a recovered food hub. So this goal is to expand the capacity for the whole system. So we're trying to identify county locations that already exist where we can stand up capacity very quickly to add more storage, more refrigeration, longer access hours, more kitchen facilities. And you'll see around the screen, there are several examples in the area already doing this. Most of them, actually, all three of these located in the East Bay. And so we're going to be kind of learning from them and trying to replicate some of their successes. And that's it. Yeah.
I think we did it.
Thank you. Love learning about food, 1383, all my favorite topics. Do we have any questions? Over there. Okay.
For a hungry person who wants to use this voucher, do they need access to a smart device with an app?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're exploring a couple different options. So one of the apps you guys may have heard of is Too Good to Go. They're an existing app that operates around the country and actually around the world. They do use an app-based technology. We also are talking to a couple of local partners that are using text-based systems, which might suit a wider variety of devices. So we're trying to be very mindful of that. And we're actually going to be working with our FRO partners and the public health department to make sure that the communication system really works for the people who we're hoping it will benefit.
Mhm. Yeah. Second Harvest, our food bank has had some success with texting too. So I think it could be one of any of those systems, but it's something that you would need a phone to use. Yes.
Over here, hi. Follow up to that question about the apps. Are you allowing multiple apps to work within your county? So is there a way to have the food from a generator posted across all the apps, or how does that work for someone who's like looking for food?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, we're funded to start the pilot later this year, and that's when we're going to actually work out kind of a lot of the kinks. I think part of it will depend on the generators, so the restaurants, hotels that we recruit, how many different systems they're willing to work with, right? We certainly want to keep kind of the universe open and we want to explore options. So I think it's just going to depend on a number of factors that we'll be sorting out as we launch the pilot.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it'll be, we're expecting a 4-month-long pilot and then learnings after that. So we really are approaching it as like a prototype to see what did work, what didn't, how could we expand it possibly with more tech partners, et cetera. Yeah.
But beyond the pilot, you're asking a $20 million question, right? Is that there are all of these apps and different FROs are all using apps, and the food banks have their own meal connected things they want you to use. And so this landscape, which is suddenly really full of all of this technology and a bunch of different technologies. So that's sort of part of our bigger picture for tasked with this very long-term thing that joint venture hopes to weigh in on, is how could we be more efficient in this space and effective. And I loved the speaker that was right before us thinking about the food system, right? It isn't just all about efficiency, but how, if we could, take a few steps back, how should this look? And can we, in the role that we play now, push for something that is a lot better for all partners, right? For the businesses and the FROs and the folks that need to have access to the food. But yeah, it's a huge issue.
Up
I'm gonna
here.
let, do we have one more question?
I've
No
got a question.
Okay, this is my last question. Up there, upstairs?
I don't know if this
Oh,
is
down
on.
here?
It is on.
Okay.
Oh, hello. I had a question about the pilot that you have with the affordable housing. How does that work? Mainly, which food recovery organizations are running that? Is it strictly food recovery organizations with their own distribution programs, or is it food recovery services that don't have a distribution program of their own? And is it more prepared food? Is it a kind of a free-for-all when the food gets to the fridges?
Yes. So these are, the pilot was set up with some Stanford students that were helping me out to sort of set up. We knew we had this issue where we wanted it to be available at more times. And as someone got off work late, essentially was the thing we were really trying to solve for. As most of you know, people that need access to food work very long hours in Silicon Valley. And so we tried to solve for that. So the Affordable Housing Partnership seemed like a really natural fit. So that's how we located in affordable housing. And it's been fantastic to work with them. Right now, we're in the pilot phase with a particular food recovery organization. So Martha's Kitchen is the contractor to do that. And because it's the pilot phase, we're going to be really intentional with trying a bunch of different types of food so that we can collect a bunch of information. And then at the end of the pilot phase, which is in September, then I'll be able to come back and say, this worked well, they like this, individual or family size packaging was perfect or whatever. We'll be able to say that at the end. So part of the contract with that food recovery organization was saying like, yeah, it's recovered food and it's coming from different sources. And some of it will be individually packaged, some will be grocery recovered food. And so we're hoping to learn all of that by the end. And then another piece of it, which of course I have 10 minutes and I'm like, it's a race and I didn't mention, but is that we're using another new piece of technology that we're going to try out where we track how full the fridge is. So instead of just having deliveries, they'll be able to check and see, is the fridge full, half full, or empty? So that they know, do they need to make a delivery? And then it's the staff at the affordable housing location that will be in charge of making sure that the food is cared for. It was kind of the answer to some of the free fridges that our health department was not as excited about as other distribution methods. And so we're trying to have it more managed and have a permit and, be a little more within the food safe system. Sorry, I went on for a bit.
It's okay. Moving on. Well, Susan and Robin will be around, right? You'll be around? Okay, so you can ask them questions and also online questions. So email, contact, but thank you. That was great. Big round of applause. Okay. No, you did great. Thank you.